Hey, we're back for another episode of Definitely the Experts. Just Sam, just Connor this week, no guest. Man, we had a good run there with getting some of our pals on.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely going to plan to bring some other folks in here during the quarantine. True lack of content. I think we came up with the outline for today's show just by talking at each other for the last 10 minutes. So we're definitely planning on having more people on. So just a quick blurb about that. If you want to come on the show, please send me a DM, slide my DMs, slide into Sam's DMs, send us a message that you want to come on the show. We'll let you on. We'll let just about anybody on.
Yeah, our booking process is pretty laid back here. You got to plug to the masses. This is a great platform for you. We'll give you I don't know how long was the 2-part episode last week. Jahi ended up being that was pushing 2 hours, I think.
It wasn't quite 2 hours. It was like a little over the. Total time that
because we didn't actually actually talked to him probably like 2.5 hours, but we only recorded.
Yeah,
half of it.
We definitely talked to him for quite a while. Like in between the technical difficulty and like after the show was done as well. Yeah, it was a long one. It was fun though. I had a lot of fun talking to Jahi. Yeah. By the way, I dropped into that Tundra Line
how's
group
that?
video thing. It was whatever. It was exactly what you expect from having a fucking Zoom conversation with 17 people. It's like you just can't do it. It's even
too many people. Yeah, that's what I figured. I didn't jump on it, and I was just once you get over 5 or 6 people, this is just it kind of is. It is what it is.
It was a good sentiment to try to get people together, and it was fine. It was funny because there were folks like Matt Breen on it. What? Matt Breen's in here, so we were just hanging out, and I don't know. Patrick was doing his best to kind of facilitate what was going on, but there were a couple things. It was he. First of all, he restarted the Zoom twice because the time limit was reached, and it was I swore that DAR had an educator's account. I could be wrong about that, which is why they didn't use it. But so we had to restart the meeting twice, and after the second time, I just left. I was I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go eat some food.
That 40-minute timer is goofy because Not the timer's goofy. I understand the timer. They want to get you a premium account or whatever. But how did Zoom corner the quarantine market for video conferencing?
The layout is so much better. If you look at WebEx and you look at Teams, which are the two ones that I've had experience with this. I haven't used Google Hangouts I have used Google Hangouts, but not for during quarantine. I used it before. I hated how the bubbles just slowly got larger when people talked. It looked very unnatural. But that's all it really is. I think I think Zoom just has the best user layout for everybody. I hate how Microsoft Teams has a semi-grid where it puts some people into a grid, but if you go over a certain amount, it just throws them off the edge. You can't see them. And then when whoever's talking, it's they're a little bit bigger. WebEx is I don't know, just a big old mess. I don't even know where to start with WebEx. It's fine for I think one-on-one meetings, but it's far from being a flagship video conferencing software client tool thing. I don't know.
I've used I guess at work we use GoToMeeting, which I don't think they have a large presence or market share. And I think they just added video capabilities to it. But whatever. So we use that at work, and then we also my family. We've done Google Hangouts, and it's fine. It's perfect. It's free. Everybody has a Google account. You just open it up. There's no time limit. I don't know the bubble thing you're talking about. Maybe that's something that happened that was in there before, but.
Yeah, it might have changed because I used it last year for a Tunderline admin meeting. I haven't used it since because that one meeting just it was super weird. So I remember I think Wes suggested we use it, and so yeah, we came into this fucking meeting, and then I remember Patrick, was like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And he said that, and as he said that, his bubble on the screen just got exponentially bigger on my screen. It was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I don't think that's how that works anymore. At least not the way I'm using it. So, I don't know. It just seems silly with all these other ones that are, I guess, in my limited experience using other non-Zoom web conferencing platforms are perfectly sufficient to get the job done. But hey, good for Zoom.
Yeah, we might have to revisit it because this 40-minute limit thing is just like a pain in the ass. But anyway, so this fucking
as I'm using this using TriCast for our podcasting recording platform, and I was like, I'm on like my 8th email address to get the free trial.
Still works though. Still does it.
Well, yeah, we're pulling the wool over that. At some point we'll go back and it's like, man, how much money do we actually owe these people? But maybe not.
Until we find
Definitely
a different
not.
platform that like hosts this stuff effectively. I don't know. I was looking around a little bit, but I found this one called Anchor that does like hosting for audio podcasts, and it was like, I was looking at it and I was like, this is pretty cool. And it was like, you can throw in like soundboard stuff like
Wow.
in the audio recording. I was like, this is very cool. And then I was looking at it and it's like, we'd have to like go back to, so right now this is what I think we'd both have to get an account. Like it's like one channel.
Oh.
So you'd either have to be local or you'd have to have two people get like two different channels, and then you'd essentially have to like mix down those individual channels and throw them into something like Audacity in order to combine them again.
So we're kind of back to square one then.
Exactly. It's like this. I was like, that's pretty cool, but the way that
so
TriCast does this is like so easy.
As long as my internet doesn't die or we don't get crazy echoes from people, but
As long as we were using headphones here.
yeah, as long as we're doing everything okay.
But anyway, so back to this meeting. So this meeting, right, was just like, it was a fine meeting. It wasn't like terrible. I got pretty bored in it, so Dave and I started like screenshotting each other and setting it as our virtual background. And so it became this memeception of like, well, I screenshotted Dave and have that as my background, and then Dave screenshotted me using Dave as his background, and he set that as his background. So then I screenshotted Dave using him as a background. And so we just went back and forth doing this for a while as people were like bullshitting around. And that was kind of funny. But at one point in this whole thing, so Dar tried to like talk, but like her computer like was not processing this meeting very well, and she just had like the laggy robot voice thing going on. And so she like went in trying to tell a story, and it was like, and everybody was like, we can't hear anything you're saying. And Wes just types in the chat box, please, Dar, stop. Type your story in the chat box. Send.
Please shut the fuck up.
And I think Patrick had to yell at her from the other room that is like, we can't hear anything you're saying. And so she typed out her story, and it was about how a kid she had like a guest come into her music class and talk about like music composition of like I don't even remember what it was, like a piece from like a movie or something, like a famous like children's movie, like or Pixar movie or something. And so he was like explaining this, and I think they were trying to like write like a piece with the class, like do some sort of activity where they like compose their own like piece. And he was like, okay, well, what should we like name this? And she was like, I kept having to kick out this one kid because he kept suggesting that they name the piece 69. And then I'd kick him out of the meeting, and he would rejoin under a different name, like Mandy or Candace.
Just in there trolling it.
Yeah, he's just in here. I was like, oh my god, that's so funny, but I'm so glad that I'm not in that. Kids? They're like, I don't know, middle school or elementary school.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Elementary might be a little young, but middle school, that's right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, It's like, man, I haven't thought about how any of that is like working right now. Like teachers that have to deal with like that kind of like bullshit in their class.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh my fucking god. Like, I think I saw a Facebook post a while ago from one of my other my old like band teacher from high school, and he teaches like middle school now, and he's like, he just did a big old post about like the kind of bullshit he's had to deal with, and it was like, yeah, I've had to deal with a kid like smoking a weed pen in front of his camera in class. And like all this like ridiculous stuff. And it was like, oh man, yeah, it is not a great time to be a teacher if there ever was one.
Yeah. Like, what do you do with that?
Right, it's like
Hey,
you kick them
put that
out. Yeah, right. Like
Don't
I'm gonna
smoke
yell at
that.
you through the webcam.
We're
So
gonna
anyway,
meet for 10 minutes.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, the meeting went exactly how you'd expect it would go. It was a lot of people, and
Was Ben tuning drums again?
Ben wasn't there.
Oh.
So that was good. Or it wasn't good that he wasn't there. Ben's great, but it was good that he wasn't there tuning drums in the middle of the meeting. So yeah, I don't know. You didn't really miss anything. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is this Reddit post. I got into not really an argument, but it was like I saw this Reddit post about AJ Dillon, and it was just like a clip from like a news thing of him like working out, and all these people on the Green Bay Packers subreddit who are very excited about AJ Dillon. And it's like, oh man, yeah, this dude he's so fucking big and athletic, and damn boy. And this one dude, so first of all, this guy started off his post by plugging his podcast, which I think is a little obnoxious.
Hey, respect the biz, man.
Yeah. Well, I did try to listen to a little bit of it. I went to listen to it, and fuck, where did it lose me? I can't remember. They said some outlandish thing about like the Minnesota Vikings or something like that. I think they were like trying to talk about the impact of losing somebody like Stephon Diggs with the Minnesota Vikings, and I think they were like trying to say something to the effect of, I have a hard time, believing that an offense is inherently better with a top tier wide receiver on it. Like, I think an offense at its roots is going to produce whether or not they have that number one wideout on the roster. And it was like, you got what? I have no idea what you guys are trying to like make this weird quote unquote inherent argument about without any sort of like substance or facts or anything. I don't know. We do this shit all the time on here, I suppose, so I don't have a lot of room to talk, but it was a really strange argument saying that like the Vikings offense isn't going to be any different without Stephon Diggs on it, and it was like, how the fuck do you know, man? Yeah.
Well, he's a Packers guy. This is a pro Packers dude.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure he was falls in line with every Packers person that's like, hey, we got to get a receiver.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was like, that's kind of what was in the back of my mind when I was thinking about it. Is like, man, I know that we kind of went like 4-0 without Devontae Adams on the field last season, but man, I don't think I would have liked to see that offense without him on the team any longer than that. That was a pretty long 4 weeks for me.
I mean, that's a hell of a spin zone if that's what he's doing. Where, actually, by the Packers not drafting a receiver, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference, because really the inherent skill and output of an offense and efficiency really comes down to the sum of its parts, not the individual pieces, not the individual players itself. When they come together in a symbiotic system and execute, an offense at its core, yeah, I don't know, something.
That's like basically what the argument was, but unironic.
Yeah,
and it was right. It's dumb. That's a dumb argument.
There's some pieces of that are true, like the sum of its parts thing, sure, but also having good individual players is good too.
Yeah, there's definitely like a weird, like sufficient, necessary, like, conditional argument, like fallacy being made there. Like, yeah, it is true saying that like there's some importance to the sum of the parts, but I don't think it's like it doesn't work like backwards the other way where it's like, okay, well, it's fine then if you don't have like a number one because the the other parts are fine. Like, well, no.
Yeah, okay, is that a part of it? Yes, but I'm starting to my general attitude on like everything and just on a macro level for all things. It's like, well, is it more X or is it more Y? And like this whole life thing is there's no black and white really in anything. It's well, yeah, it's having great individual player, good. Yes, you want that. Is it the end all be all? No, it's a little of both. You need the whole team to gel together in the right system, running the right plays with the right players that are all in some way, shape, or form talented. It's a little of this, it's a little of that.
Right.
Salt, a little pepper.
Yeah, and man, and I got into this part of this is actually in a different Reddit post that I got into a little thing over because it was in the immediate aftermath of the draft, and there were a bunch of Packers fans who were like, just getting after the team for not drafting a wide receiver. And this had been a few days after the draft, and so I don't know. I had done quite a bit of reading and read articles, and there had been press briefings already with all the stuff where it was like, the GM, Matt LaFleur, they both decided, after a certain number of picks in the first round, they didn't see any first rounders they liked anymore. They didn't see any second rounders, and after that, after Chase Claypool or whoever, they didn't see anybody that they thought was worth developing over the players they were already developing. And so it was like, all right, you know what? I'll take that at face value. That if that's what they say it is, you have to believe them. They're getting paid a lot more money to do this than I'm getting paid to do anything. So I'm just gonna take that. And so all these people were getting mad, and they were like, I just don't get it. Like, it just makes common sense to me to draft a wide receiver. I mean, look at all these. And so it was a post of this dude who just listed like all these like first year, these rookie wideouts from last year who had production, like AJ Brown, like DK Metcalf. He actually listed Marquise Brown in there, who I didn't really think was like a super impact player. He had like 500 yards. He had a big week one, but he's like injury riddled the whole season. Anyway, he like listed all these rookie wideouts that had big seasons, and it was like, okay, yeah, he's like, like this is the impact of a rookie wide receiver. Like, are you telling me that rookie wide receivers can't have an impact? And it was like, okay, that's fine, but I think it's a little bit of confirmation bias to say that because in the exact same class, I mean, you had like Paris Campbell, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, N'Keal Harry was drafted in the first round. Like all these fucking dudes who arguably weren't impact players in the exact same draft. So it was like I just put that there, and it was like you have to look at this and you just like realize that there's certainly an argument to be made here that if they didn't think that there was a guy that would do that, I mean, yeah, what's the point then of wasting capital on that if you think a guy's going to turn out like one of these dudes, or like Hakeem Butler was drafted really high for the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't think he barely saw the field. So it's like there's all these kinds of dudes who have a ton of quote-unquote potential, and I mean, it's certainly not over for them because they were just rookies. But I mean, there's an argument to be made there if they thought that these guys would take an extra year to develop. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If at the end of the day the Packers evaluation was like, okay, these guys I think are year one contributors right away. All those guys are gone, then yeah, fine. Sure, there are good prospects down in there that are going to probably develop and have nice careers and diamonds in the rough later in the draft. Yes, absolutely, I'm sure of it. You don't have a good read on who that is, fine. I mean, like the rationale behind not picking a receiver after all the guys that they did like were gone, I understand it. I don't like it, but I get it.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if the whole point is, yes, receivers can make an impact in year one, yes, they can. They can also be not make an impact, and see the field immediately year one, and then later develop. Or just be bad not see the field at all over the course of their entire career. Not see the field year one, not year two, and then they're out of the league. I guess that's all three possible. That's the three possible outcomes if you want to group them that way. They'll be either great now, great later, or bad, or something, and whatever. And I guess it's not really a bucket way to think of it, but there's an entire spectrum between all those. You know who wasn't also great in year 1, 2, or really 3? Davante
Adams.
So he's great now, and that would not necessarily preclude me from drafting a receiver. If you want to make, it's the exact same argument that why you draft Jordan Love in the first round. It's an investment, and I guess. Well, what the Packers are telling us about what they did was that they didn't feel worth spending the draft capital on investing in one of those receivers that were on the board in the second, third, and so on. Thought that draft capital better spent elsewhere. I mean, if you really look at it from that perspective, you kind of divorce it from the actual individual players and look at it just as a business transaction. Based on the analysis that they're doing, based on the tape that they're watching, and whatever limited interaction they had with these players pre-draft. Which you got your board. That's how you make your board, and then you just deploy your draft capital accordingly based on how things go. So,
right.
I'm not in there riding tape every day on these dudes who were on the board in the third and fourth round. I don't know why Donovan Peoples-Jones was in some people's board all the way in the first round and didn't go until the sixth. So, I don't know. I just know he's a name, and he would have been a nice prospect to get at the very tail end of the draft.
The more I read about Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think the more comfortable I am with not getting him in the draft. There's all kinds of stuff that came out on the college football subreddit that it was he got disciplined by the coaches because he just stopped trying in practice because Shea Patterson was such a shitty quarterback. So he just wouldn't try, and then that translated slowly into games, and it was well, and it's this guy doesn't have elite route running or speed, so even when he was trying, it was really hard to separate it from is it because he just has a bad attitude today, or is it because he actually sucks? And so it was muddy waters here. I don't know. I'm sure that there are a lot of things that could have been different. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he still would have had not so great production because his quarterback was just the worst. But right, I don't know. I guess we'll see with the Cleveland Browns here, Baker Mayfield. Yeah. But
so how does this tie all the way back to AJ Dillon?
So this AJ Dillon post, it was about AJ Dillon being big and strong and meaty, and this dude who plugged his podcast was just yeah, we're really excited to talk about AJ Dillon. You can find more out about it on our podcast here, and how excited we are to have a big bruiser like AJ Dillon, measurables at I forgot how tall he is, 240, and at 5% body fat. And so immediately a guy commented, again. What?
Here we go again.
I know. So immediately a guy commented, he's yeah, he's super shredded, but there's absolutely no way he's 5% body fat. And so then this fucking dude, commented and was well, that's been reported. Do you have any sources that say otherwise? And he was we went through this last year with DK Metcalf. Here's the Athlean X video of him explaining why it's impossible for DK Metcalf to be 1.6% body fat, and why it's very unlikely that this dude who's 240 pounds and a big stocky fucking running back is 5% body fat. Here's this video. And so then this guy was well, that's not really a source, and I'm just saying what's been reported, so... And so I was Jesus fucking Christ. So, first of all, before I get into any shit on Reddit, it's really fun, because in Reddit you can check the people, and you can see what they've commented on, and, the kinds of posts they've, or subreddits they're a part of, And so this fucking dude, it was super weird. So this guy, I don't know, I thought he was like any other dude in this subreddit, just regular old Wisconsin dude. Clicked on his profile, and it was like very active in these subreddits, and it was like Green Bay Packers. Okay, sounds good. r/conservatives. Yeah, that makes sense. r/the Donald. Okay, yeah. r/drag. And I was like,
that's a left turn.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. So, so then I was like, yeah, I think I'm interested in getting in the mix of this. And so then I commented on it and was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and, I don't know. Basically what I said was, it was like, just so you're aware and have a frame of reference, between 4 and like 8% body fat is where like the Mr. Olympia contestants compete in. Like the top tier, top of the world bodybuilders that you see in those competitions are at 4 to 8% body fat, and only because they completely dehydrate their bodies. Like they literally take baths in like Epsom salt in order to completely dehydrate all the cells in their skin to get those striations. And then immediately after the competition, they go and like go ham on like a Golden Corral buffet because their body is literally starting to eat its own muscles because it's like at such a dangerous body fat level. And so it was like if any professional athlete was actually at this body fat level, like they would go into a game and they'd like get a snap in and their body would it would completely cramp up because it's completely devoid of any water. Like there's no way that your body would like be that low in body fat without it like being a total physical detriment to everything you're trying to do on a football field. So like even the leanest wide receivers are like probably sitting at, you know, maybe 10% body fat if they're really skinny and lean. So, you know, these guys are in excellent physical shape, but like it's a complete media fallacy to keep saying these dudes are like this low in body fat. Like it's a goddamn lie that DK Metcalf ever measured at 1.6% body fat. And so this dude, he's just like, well, you know, maybe, but I think it's really just more of a barometer instead of straight up facts. And I think we all know that. And it was like,
well, now you got him backpedaling.
yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's not like, this isn't a barometer, you saying that he's 5%. I mean, it's just like a lie. Like, that's not true. And so it was like, yeah, I don't know, I get what you're saying, but like, here's literally a story of a bodybuilder who went, you know, sub 3% body fat, and he's dead because his organs all shut down and his kidneys failed, his liver failed, everything is completely destroyed because the only way you can do that is by totally abusing anabolic steroids in order to prevent your muscles from, catabolizing or eating themselves when you reach that low of body fat. And yeah, he's dead. Like, he died in like 7 days after doing something like that. So there's that. And yeah, so this dude, is like, he's like, you know, trying to go back on all this stuff. He's like, well, it's really just meant as a range, and I really think that this is something that was made up by fitness enthusiasts so that they could get involved in NFL measurables. And it was like, this. What? I don't even know what this dude's talking about anymore. It's like all you gotta do is say, okay, I get it. But this guy is, he's just left turn after left turn, tangential argument after tangential argument.
Like that whole thing. At the end of the day, like, what are we arguing about? What difference does it make? It doesn't really fucking matter. There's no correlation between him being a really good player and his body fat percentage. And then the other thing with that whole deal, it's like, well, it's been reported. Like, well, okay, who do you think that the people reporting that got who's their source? In there is somebody from ESPN or from someone from The Athletic in there with how do you even measure body fat? I'm dumb. Like, are they in there with a tape measure and a body fat reader?
Right. They kind of
exactly where it came from. It came from his agent. His agent put it out there.
Right. And that it's really funny because the video, the Athlete X video, like, he explains exactly how they get the measurables, and he explains exactly like why there's like a margin of error. involved with it, and I don't totally remember it. It's like involving displacement of like water and like other substances in your body, and using like electronic signals to like detect that kind of stuff, and it spits out a number, and it's like, well, this is a number for sure, and it's like it very well could have read 5% on there, but it's like he's like, just so you know, with this method, it can be anywhere between like a 5 and 7% like margin of error. So it's like, okay,
well, we'll just take the lower end of that, and we'll say he's negative 2%.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, it's a world of difference to say you're 5% body fat and like 12% body fat. 12% body fat is still very lean, and it certainly is still a respectable body fat percentage to be at. Again, I mean, you said it already before all of that, is that, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you look at a ton of dudes, like a ton of athletes who don't necessarily look like they're in shape. You can certainly look at like quarterbacks, especially. They aren't like the most shredded dudes alive. They're still very exceptional athletes. They're still world-class athletes for sure. I don't think it necessarily matters. A lot of these like running backs get a reputation for being a little chunkier, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that you can still be exceptionally strong. And like, I mean, you look at offensive linemen, for example, like Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas was like a huge dude, and then he retired, and you look at him now, and it's like he's still like a pretty big dude, like big stature, but like he's very slim now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a big frame. He's big for regular people, but then he's not at all in playing shape.
No, exactly. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that when you're like, dealing with, like in his position, he has to block like linebackers and defensive linemen, all kinds of like big, strong dudes. And it's like, in order to do that, you have to have a lot of muscle on your frame. And when you do that, you subsequently have a lot of fat on your body in order to like, function. You can't just be like a, superhuman, super shredded, like I guess what comes to mind is like somebody like Aaron Donald, who he looks like pretty like lean still, for being his size especially. But like people like that are like, like you're just like genetically superior to a lot of people, and that's why Aaron Donald is the way that he is. Like Aaron Donald is superior to people even in the NFL. He's been like the defensive player of the year several times, I think. Yeah, so like. Right, even these dudes in the NFL, it's like you're looking at the absolute cream of the crop of athletic prowess in the world. And this is what people look like.
Here's a dumb question. Like, could I get down to 5% body fat if I just didn't eat for an exorbitant amount of time? Like, if I went like a month without eating anything, without ingesting any calories? Or would I die first?
You would die first.
Ah, damn
it. I mean, in order to get down to like 5% body fat, I mean, in order to prevent you from killing yourself in the process of doing this, I mean, you have to like train your body to like function at a level. Like, I think you would pass out probably before you'd even be able to like you'd be hospitalized, certainly. Like before you got down to 5% body fat, before your like body tried to just like, go into a coma essentially to save you, like it would put itself in like a quote unquote hibernation state in order to prevent you from dying before you like cut any like serious fat. Yeah, but I mean, at a certain point, I don't know. I don't really want to get into like how people like train themselves to do this. Basically, it's a mixture of like very high intensive training and like the use of anabolics. Like your body has to be able to like mentally, you have to be able to operate still at like a level where you're like not ingesting a lot of like carbohydrates or fat, but you're still like providing your muscles with enough nutrients to like, do things like go to the gym or, whatever you're doing to train, I suppose. It's a lot like you like long distance. We'll use a different example here, like marathon runners and like long distance like ultra running people who are like they're obviously very strong in a different way, but they're very like they have nothing on their frame. They're very skinny, all of them. But they obviously still like their diet is still like they're eating like a ton of fucking food all the time, in order to maintain a lifestyle like that, because their body requires it, and if they don't do that, I mean, it would literally fall apart.
Man, the first time I ever heard of like an ultra marathon, I was like, I couldn't believe that people actually did that. Because what are they, like 75 miles?
Yeah, 100 miles, whatever.
Why? How?
I don't know. There was a dude on my study abroad trip who was like, he was like a 48-year-old dude, and he was an ultra race runner, whatever it's called. It's intense, man. It's crazy.
Like, it just and it did like nothing else, like just like a regular marathon, like it just takes so much time to do it. Let alone doing that 3 or 4 times over in a single whatever go at it.
Right. And I mean, with it, I talked to him a little bit about it, and I don't know, he didn't have like a ton of like scientific answers for me, but at the end of the day, he's just like, yeah, I don't know, I've just done this for like 20 years. So my body is just it's therapeutic to run like 12 miles. Like I'll just go on a 12-mile jog. And like that's how I get out and how I clear my mind sometimes. I'll just go on a jog and just go until I want to stop. And sometimes that's after 12 miles.
Man. I don't know. That thought's never crossed my mind. Is like I top out at like 3 miles and it's like, whew, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess some people are just built like that, or the people that are into that, or can just do it. Now it seems insane to me to do a regular marathon and then let alone get done with that and be like, you know what, I'm good. Let's run it back. Let's keep going. I don't. Yeah, just
right.
A role that I'm just not in.
No, not. I'm the same way. A 5K is perfect. I'll do that. I don't know. It's a combination of just you do it over and over again. And he shared an article one time that I read about, because I was under the impression that running like that kind of stuff as you get up into your 50s there, it's like that has to be terrible for your knees. And he shared a really good article about how he's like, there's a lot of doctors that agree that, doing this, doing that as like a one-off, like I'm going to train for this fucking marathon at age 50 after not doing any sort of running at all is like, that's bad. You're going to fuck something up for sure doing that. But like, for somebody like himself, where he had been running for like the better part of like a few decades at that point, it's like your body has slowly adapted to that intensity and has been able to craft itself in order to allow you to do that. So it's like, doing that to yourself over that long period of time, while you have to still like stretch and rehab yourself and take care of yourself when you do hurt yourself inevitably. But as long as you take care of your body and allow it to adapt for that course of action, like you can certainly do things like ultra marathons getting into your 50s and so on and so forth. Maybe not as you progress further and further in age, but you can certainly keep up that like high intensity running for a lot longer than I think most people realize. You just have to train for it. I thought that was very interesting. It's certainly something that I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more into weightlifting than I am into running now, but it's certainly something that piqued my interest for a little while, where it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's always under the impression that like need to start biking at some point, because otherwise my knees will just explode.
Boy, yeah. Speaking of biking, man, I've been biking. It's been nice the last couple of days. I've been biking to work, or I've been meaning to. I biked on Wednesday because it rained like all day Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. So I bike to work Wednesday. Great. Perfect. 5.5 miles there, 5.5 miles back. Thursday, like, yep, let's do it again. Another nice day. And, like, yesterday afternoon, biking home, it's like, oh, man, I am really sluggish here. Like, back-to-back days, like, I haven't biked like this in a while.
Yeah. I had that moment the other day, too. I just biked over to the Memorial Library area to read a book when it was nice out the other weekend, and yeah, I did that, and it was like, oh shit, I haven't been on this in a while, huh? Yeah, I'm breathing a little hard.
Yeah, man, my quads are burning, and I only went, mile.
Yeah.
It's a little different too, because I think this is like a comparable distance to what I did when I was a couple summers ago when I worked at Wisdot. I biked to work pretty much every day that summer, but I realized, like, oh, wait a minute, this is a little different because I'm biking on gravel now instead of pavement.
Okay.
That makes a difference.
Right, that combined with the fact that you haven't done it in a while is probably, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's on, this is an old railroad corridor, so there's no like hills on it or anything, but it's like slowly descends down to this bridge, like that's about halfway, and then the other half is back up. So it's like, no matter which direction you're going downhill the first half and then slightly uphill the second half, and it's like, oh, as soon as you hit the bridge and start going back uphill, it's like, oh man, like it's not much, but I can see it, and I can definitely feel it.
Yeah. Well, man, you're gonna have huge biceps and huge thighs at the end of the summer here.
Man, that's the thing. Like, I couldn't believe, like, after I started, like, actually exercising on a regular basis, like, a year and a half ago, this past season for Tungeline was way better. I felt so much better. Back felt better. I felt better condition. It just made the whole experience so much better than the year before.
I bet. I'm sure.
So, like, the thing to go for this year was, and I think the biking is going to help with this, it was just the cardio. Like, I would get burned out. I'd be breathing pretty heavy towards the end of the day on that hike back to our storage place at the end of the game. But, yeah, hopefully this will help.
That's something definitely that I think I didn't do as great of a job. Definitely the first parade that we did, I was like, holy shit, I'm not prepared physically quite yet. Yeah, I definitely thought that it was something that was more strength based for a long time, and it took me until a little bit, either like a combination of last season and the season before playing tenors. It's like, I really think that like a lot of this has more to do with I got to be able to run a lot more frequently in the anticipation of the season, because I think a lot of this has more to do with my cardiovascular strength and like my actual like strength in my back. And every time I tell myself this before every season, and it's like it's more and more true when I look over and I see Ben huffing and puffing, and it's like, this dude's way stronger than me, but like he's having a hell of a time.
Yeah, it's always the thing. It's like we're fine when we just post up somewhere, no problem. As soon as we start taking on the move for like we're moving and playing at all, it's like, oh man, whew.
Yeah, right. Literally just like trekking from place to place. It's like I get really grumpy and agitated really fast with that kind of shit. And it's like, I totally understand this is more or less my own fault because I should just be in better shape for this. But like, man, it's really easy to just be like, man, those snare drums up there are moving really fast. It's like, this brings back all like the Badger Band stuff where we're playing on rounds and shit, and the bass drums would get really mad at like the pace that people are moving at. And I never understood it because I played the snare drum, and it was like, I get it, I understand.
I like on paper understood it, and then I just made a point my last year in band is like, hey, we're doing rounds. We're not in a hurry, unless we are. If we're in a hurry,
unless we are.
Well, if we're in a hurry, we're not getting beer anymore like we used to back in the day. So we'll just skip red zone or whatever. It's fine. We're just doing this for fun. We don't actually have to do any of this. I just remember making a conscious effort to not run away and not be all spry and up and about. And that's the thing too, like coming from doing that, where for 4 years of doing that, I felt great because I'm playing the snare drum. It's a long day, but I was at practice all week, so I was in better cardio shape. But that first season after my 5th year of school, where I wasn't in band, that first season coming back to Tundra Line, I felt terrible. I was in terrible shape, and I felt every ounce of those goddamn drums.
Yes.
So, how do we get on this? Oh yeah, we're talking marathon shit. Let's talk Sleeper Dynasty League.
Hell yeah, dude. So I joined. As everybody kind of is right now, I'm really bored and sports deprived. So I went on Sleeper and I found a discussion post where it was like, hey, if you have any Dynasty Leagues that you want people to join, post them here. And there's one for a 12-team PPR Dynasty League. And I joined it more or less to like do the draft and to like see what this is about and to feel out this like whole Dynasty thing and see if this is actually a cool thing. So I joined it and they had a draft and
already?
Yeah. Which kind of made sense because it's Dynasty, so it's like you gotta be able to move around the pieces and like set up your. I mean, it doesn't really matter when you draft because you need the young pieces.
I suppose someone gets hurt this year, well, big deal. You got them next year.
Exactly. So you need to set up your team like this, and so anyway, it was like I joined it and they drafted and. So in the middle of this whole thing, so we're like getting into this fucking draft, and there's this one person who just keeps spamming the fucking group with messages like during the fucking draft, and it's this Candy Summers fellow individual in the group, and I remember, so it was like after every fucking pick, it was either like, dang, I wanted that person, or like, oh, excellent pick. And then would like go into some commentary about the fucking team that was based on like objectively nothing correct about the group. And I remember it started with like somebody picked fucking, so I should explain a little bit more about this group. This group is also like your roster is like the... Let me see if I can find the settings for this group. I don't think I can right now. So it's 2-quarterback league. There's 3 flex positions, and your bench is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people deep with 2 IR spots. And so
so how does this work then? You play just 5. You play the 2 quarterbacks and 3 whatever.
So it's 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, which is those other positions are like that's like the generic amount of spots for them. But yeah, there's an extra flex spot and there's an extra quarterback.
Got it. Okay.
And so somebody picked like Aaron Rodgers, and it was like, I don't know about Aaron Rodgers and. Matt LaFleur sucks, and I don't think the Packers are doing very well this year. We can all look at their draft and see that, and it was like I saw this, and it was like I looked at this and I responded. I was like, yeah, well, Matt LaFleur also went 13-3 last year, so there's that. And it was like, oh well, like that says anything about his performance, and it was like, what the fuck. So whatever, it was like, we're not going to do this. I draft
deep in your own head that like, oh yeah, winning games, like what does that really mean though?
What kind of metric is that? So whatever. I did this fucking draft right, and I think I drafted a pretty solid team, but like looking at this and like all the other people who were like drafting, like it was like all these people were taking like these like weird no-name dudes who were like, like 6th-round picks in this year's draft. So it was like I have no idea who some of these fuckers are, and like I'm looking at my team and it's like, man, I like my team, but like some of these other fucking people, like let me go to the commissioner's team.
Yeah, I just have this feeling like, man, what do they know that I don't?
Kinda, where it was like all this commissioner's team. So his team, he's got Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Saquon Barkley, Kenyon Drake, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, AJ Green, Zane Gonzalez, Philadelphia Eagles. That's his starting lineup.
Sounds good to me.
However, his bench. Well, I'll get into who I have, but his bench. It's Jordan Love, Le'Veon Bell, Ito Smith. So Jordan Love, Le'Veon Bell, Ito Smith, Bryce Love. He's got LaMichael Pirine, the guy who was drafted this year, Larry Fitzgerald, Emmanuel Sanders, Preston Williams, Steven Sims Jr., Devin Duvernay, who was drafted this year, Jay Sternberger, and Cole Kmet. And so I was looking at that, and I was like, there's a lot of rookies on that team.
He's betting long. He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
So who do you have?
So my team...
Well, also, hold on. He's playing the long game. He also has Phillip Rivers and Larry Fitzgerald.
I know, like, right. So it was like, what the fuck is his team?
What's the plan?
Like, it was min-max. Like, you got some dudes who are 40, and you got some dudes who are 21.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is his comp? So, whatever. My team is Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley, Odell Beckham Jr., Zach Ertz, Philip Lindsay, Will Fuller, Marquise Brown, Younghoe Koo, LA Chargers. And my bench is Derek Carr, Tariq Cohen, Quadri Allison, John Brown, Devin Funchess, Tyler Boyd, Corey Davis, Jalen Hurd, Andy Isabella, Miles Boykin, Hayden Hurst, and Adam Troutman. Yeah. So, in these later rounds, I took a lot of shots on dudes like Devin Funchess and Corey Davis wasn't taken in like the six. So this draft also was like 24 fucking rounds. So it was long as hell. And it was like I took dudes like Corey Davis in like the 20th round, while these dudes were taking guys like Devin Duvernay, and I was like, oh my god. And like I think I got Hayden Hurst in like the 12th round, and it was like Hayden Hurst is a fucking tight end 1 this year. Like he's the only tight end on the Atlanta Falcons roster. And it's like, what? Like, why aren't people taking these dudes?
I don't know. I kind of like the Devin Duvernay pick over Corey Davis.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember where I got
in the 20th damn round. Corey Davis hasn't done anything really. Devin Duvernay could.
Yeah.
Just valuing. I don't know. Maybe. What if? Why? Why not?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's fun.
It was kind of an interesting thing to do, because it certainly opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I think a lot of these things, it's like I'm certainly looking at this draft differently. Like if I do a redraft league, or if we do like our Tundra league again, there's certainly a lot of dudes that I'll be targeting. I mean, like Hayden Hurst for sure, but like this Adam Troutman dude. So this Adam Troutman guy is a guy that I just like. I think I literally just Googled like dynasty picks top, because I was in like the 20th round or whatever. It was like, who the fuck do I even pick? Like these are guys that like who am I even supposed to choose at this point? And it was like, yeah, so Adam Troutman he was drafted in the 3rd round by the New Orleans Saints. And he's tight end. And it was like, okay, so this guy was like, he was one of the T1 tight end prospects coming out of this. I think he went to Dayton. So he was at like a smaller school. Yeah. But he was like, top tier dude. And it was like, he might see like a, not as huge of a role especially in the first part of this season, but like all he has to do is overtake Jared Cook at the tight end position, and Jared Cook like missed a whole bunch of time last year due to injury, and it's like he's also kind of old. He's 33.
Getting up there.
So I mean he could be fine, but it's like there's a reason why they drafted him this high. So like if you're gonna take like a rookie tight end, like I think he could be one of the guys to like really develop this year. If not this year, certainly the next year. Because Jared Cook's contract's also expiring, so he could be like the starting tight end for the New Orleans Saints. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll take him. And then beyond that, it was like, who the fuck? I don't know. Anyway, so I took a lot of dudes. Like I didn't really take a lot of rookies. I think he's like the only rookie that I took. I think so. So anyway, is this more or less kind of interesting? I really don't know if I'm going to stick with this league because it's like, it's really weird. There's like all kinds of, it's kind of active. Like just a couple hours ago, a trade was completed. Brashad Perriman for Tony Pollard. And it's like, all these dudes are like fucking, doing shit right now.
Well, yeah, I don't think you just casually get into a dynasty league. Even though it sounds like you did, but
yeah, I 100% did.
Maybe I'll do it. I want to get into a dynasty league where you draft defensive players too.
You know what? I was actually thinking about doing that for if we're able to run back the Tundra Line League. It was the two things I wanted to change where I want to make it fab bidding for auction bidding for waivers, and I wanted to include an IDP slot. Because it was like, oh, it's kind of cool, like looking at like the other side of the ball. Like it's kind of fluky because they're IDP players who like maybe not like aren't objectively good. Like Blake Martinez does a lot of tackling, so therefore he's like a really good IDP player. But like it's kind of cool still to like be able to. Factual. Well, yeah, exactly, right.
Sacks.
But it's kind of cool to look at the other side of the ball for like fantasy football and not to just like look at like which defense is going to get like turnovers or which defense is
streaming against a bad offense.
Yeah, so I mean, I was looking at some ideas there. Like some teams just like straight up get rid of like, like things like kicker, or things like like defense. Just straight up get rid of defense and instead put like 2 IDP slots. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, get an IDP thing going in there. So anyway, yeah, that's definitely interesting to explore. I don't know. I'd definitely join another thing if you were doing a thing.
Yeah, but maybe we'll maybe put one together over the weekend here.
Yeah.
One day, Memorial Day draft.
Hell yeah. So yeah, anyway, that's the Sleeper Dynasty thing. It's very...
Oh yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I really don't know what to expect from it, but I mean, we'll see. I don't know. There were a lot of things I looked at. I don't know. I can't get over like me looking at some of this stuff, and it's like, my team looks like it's gonna perform better than like a lot of these other dudes, like at face value here. Like looking at these teams, especially like the 2 quarterback thing. Like some of these dudes drafted like weird quarterbacks. Like in a 2 quarterback league, you typically have to draft like 3 quarterbacks, and you try to draft them within like the first like 4 rounds. And like a lot of these dudes, like the dudes they drafted, let me look at some of these dudes. Some of these guys got stud lineups like Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson is one of these dudes. And then some of these dudes, it's like, let me see here. Try this team. Got like, Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. Teddy Bridgewater. Oh.
All right.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know.
Yo, give me Tyrod Taylor and Kyler Murray.
I'm just looking at this one dude's team. So this is what I'm talking about. This guy with this squad: Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, George Kittle, Marlon Mack, Brandon Cooks, Ronald Jones, Mason Crosby, Colts. That's his starting lineup, right? His bench: Teddy Bridgewater, Jalen Richard. Who the fuck is this guy? Raymond Calais. He's a running back for Tampa Bay. John Kelly. Brashad Perriman, Robbie Anderson, KJ Hamler, Michael Pittman, KJ Hill, Anthony Gandy Golden, Eric Ebron, and Denver Broncos. So this guy has like 7 rookies on his
Give me all
roster.
the rookie receivers. All the second-round rookie receivers.
And yeah, this running back who I don't even know who this dude is. Like, yeah, so that's like, yeah, these teams like that, and it's like, man, like my team at face value has to beat this team. Like, there's no way all of those dudes are even playing. Like, like, I don't know. So anyway, yeah, moving on here, we can talk about something else because we could just talk about this forever probably. Last Dance.
Yeah, hey, that's a thing that went on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a ton of stuff that hasn't like, I guess, already been shared in the ether, but it is very interesting seeing like. So first of all, the documentary is like pretty curated in favor of Michael Jordan, even in the aspects where it's like trying to explore the like darker image sides of him. It's like very clear he, you know, even despite what the documentary people are saying, where it's like, you know what, we made this independent of Michael Jordan and, you know, yada yada yada, but it's like it's very obvious that he had something to do with it.
Well, yeah, he got final cut. He got the.
Yeah.
He 100% actually went through and was like, "Yep, yes, no, maybe so."
Yeah.
So fine, whatever, fine. I don't give a shit.
Right, I don't know, man. I thought the whole like, I thought the whole thing was advertised to be essentially like a Michael Jordan documentary. So like it makes sense that he would approve of it, but I don't know. It is very interesting exploring, I guess, the the side of Michael Jordan where it's like, yes, Michael Jordan was the hardest working basketball player, but like, what does having like the like most grindstone-esque work ethic mean from like a realistic sense? And it's like, you know, this is like some of his behavior is like straight up like sociopathic. And it's very interesting.
Out of nothing.
What's that?
Making grudges out of nothing. Literally nothing.
Exactly, right. Like his whole, like, it's kind of funny because they make fun of it a lot on Part of My Take, where it's like, yeah, this dude, like, he probably didn't even say anything bad. He just, you know, Michael played a very good game, and, you know, I didn't really see, I thought he was respectable on the court, and yeah, Michael reads something like that. He's like, oh, he didn't think I was scary. You know, this guy's getting killed for sure, and then drops a 60 bomb in the game on this fucking dude. And it's like
we're just gonna go out there and try and give the Bulls our best. Like, oh, you're gonna try.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
All right, motherfucker, strap him up.
Yeah, exactly. And so, right, looking at that, some of that stuff, it's like, oh man, this dude's straight up psycho. But it's like, it's really difficult to like reconcile those sides, because it's like, yeah, this dude is like straight up like, you know, not able to converse with human beings sometimes, but like you can't even, you know, it's hard to separate that from like, well, he's had this enormous amount of success, and it's like, you know, would you have one without the other? I mean, this documentary would lead most to believe no, like they're both, you know, tethered at some point, but, you know, it's kind of interesting. That was, I think, the most interesting part for me, at least. It was very interesting exploring a lot of the historical elements that I either just did not know about at all because I wasn't born, obviously, didn't watch any of this stuff, but I think the more the like quote unquote deeper part of the documentary where they explored that stuff was the most interesting part for me.
Yeah, the thing about with him being a very difficult person to probably work with and be around socially, like you said, those two are, the documentary leads it that those two are tied together. And I think that is the case for Michael Jordan, that those are two, being a borderline sociopath and that championship work ethic and getting those results. Yeah, those two I think are tied together. That doesn't necessarily mean for you and me to have to be. Nor do I want to. Boy, that didn't look like a whole lot of fun. I mean, yeah, winning 6 titles in 8 years is great, but boy, that's a lot of damn work. as a regular person, like I'm just not wired that way, man. To have that insane work ethic, and the other thing too with being kind of a mercurial guy to get along with if you're on that team, because he was so successful and because he put in all those work, he can get away with that. It's not one, I'm sure some people will get this twisted, but we'll take the message like, hey, if I'm an asshole, that we'll get these great results. Well, no, it's the other way around. You put in the work, and that gives you some leeway with in this case his teammates to really push him, because he's putting in the work on the front end.
Yeah. Right. And it's really hard to quantify exactly what did hard work even mean, because it was weird, because he would often characterize a lot of folks in the, like Michael Jordan would talk about a lot of people as like, well, they were good, but I just worked harder than them, so that's why I was better. And it's like, a lot of these dudes, it's like they obviously worked really hard. Like people, I guess as an example, like when they played the Suns and they talked about like the dichotomy between him and like Charles Barkley, who was like the MVP of the NBA that season, and like it was kind of how the documentary portrayed the two. Is like, yeah, Charles was really talented, but like Michael just like flipped a switch and had more physical stamina than him, and it was like, well, that's I guess really easy to just kind of say in like a documentary, but like when you talk about like, okay, well, how did he do that? And it's like, these dudes would just like, I'm trying to think about, the mindset of like, all right, what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna fucking get up and I'm gonna practice for like 12 hours and like actually practice. Like I'm thinking about doing that for something like drums. It's like it's a good day if I sit down and practice for like an hour and a half.
Well, you've been there though, where it's a full day, and
yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of, I guess, where I'm coming from. It's like being able to do that like individualized, like sit down and like go out with your trainer and just like I'm gonna practice for 12 hours. I'm gonna shoot, or I'm gonna work on this, and just do that over and over and over again. And then like, the fact is I mean, it was a big point of like his work ethic was something he like, it was a thing in the documentary where it was talking about how, his mercurial nature with his teammates, because he kept pushing them to do what he was doing. And that's not necessarily the most effective like teaching method, or the best way to be a leader necessarily, is to like force upon your exact training regimen to other people. But like that's what he thought was the best way. It was like, oh, these guys just aren't working hard enough. They need to work as hard as me. And this whole idea of like, I'm never going to tell people to do more things than what I'm doing myself. And the way that we can be the best form of ourselves is if we're all like busting our ass and like, I mean, essentially killing ourselves in the gym in order to like absolutely perfect the most perfected thing that we have right now on the court. Like kind of what you're saying, like I guess in the form of like things like drum corps and stuff, where these guys, I mean, are obviously exceptionally talented, but like the fact of the matter is that these dudes are like constantly working on the same thing over and over again until it's the absolute most perfect form of whatever it is. And I mean, it's an analogy that you and I can understand maybe a little bit better than things like basketball, with what these professional athletes are doing. It's just like really strange to like see it in this documentary and how it's portrayed. And I guess what I was trying to get at is the comparison between these like world class athletes, like other people on other teams, like Karl Malone and stuff like that. It's like they obviously work very, very hard, but like the comparison between them and Michael Jordan, it's like, man, well, I don't know. Like I don't know how you possibly like put it into like numbers of hours in the gym between these dudes or something like that, because like all these dudes I think are doing that on some level. Like you have to imagine that it's like
bed and getting an MVP.
Right, exactly. Like these dudes aren't just like naturally gifted. Like all of them are working very, very hard. Like nobody's like just absolutely slacking off, because otherwise they just wouldn't be on a team probably. So I guess that's a part that would be more interesting to see a little bit more of, like comparisons between like a borderline sociopathic team like the Bulls and like a regular team, like what they do differently.
Well, they're doing what the Bulls were doing when Michael Jordan first got there, one of those first episodes, and it's like, yeah, we're just hanging out in the hotel room with all these girls and cocaine.
Yeah. Or like when they were in the training room and Michael's talking about it, he's like, oh, it wouldn't be a big surprise if the guys had a whole case at halftime.
Yeah, like what?
Smoking cigarettes.
That's the thing. Okay, and that's I wanted to get into the flu game, because I don't think you've seen that episode yet.
No, but I think I understand the whole thing behind this.
Yeah, the whole story with the pizza, and then there was some pushback from one of these college basketball shows, and he was like, what do you mean? You're telling me that these guys in Utah poisoned the pizza? Not buying it. Which is fine, but I don't think that's what they were trying to make it out as. Okay, you get a pizza and you got food poisoning, whatever, instead of the flu. Because that was always one thing before this whole thing. Like, I was peripherally aware of the flu game, and there are images of it, and like there's like Scottie Pippen carrying Michael Jordan. It's like, man, if the guy's got the flu, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be let him hang on me. Hey, man, I don't want to get the flu too.
No, right.
So okay, well, whatever. He's got food poisoning. And like, well, how do these kids in Utah poison the pizza? Like, I don't know, man. You ever eaten some undercooked sausage on a sausage pizza? That'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
That'll fuck. So like, I wanted more detail on like, okay, you ordered a pizza in Utah. What toppings did you get on the pizza? What size pizza was it? What was the crust? I wanted like a full forensic analysis of this pizza. Did you get some funky cheese, or did you get like a crazy mushroom pizza or something on there? Did you get something you usually don't eat? Yeah, I don't know. And there's so you got 5 guys showing up to the hotel room to deliver the pizza. Who's delivering five? How did these guys know it was Michael Jordan in there? It's like, well, I don't know. They probably didn't. They just knew they delivered a pizza to a hotel where the Bulls were staying at. I guess my guess would be, if you take that at face value, assuming there are 5 people that showed up to deliver the pizza, I guess I would think, hey, the Bulls stay in this hotel. Maybe there's a chance that this is for Michael Jordan or somebody else of note on this team, and I'm not really too hung up on that whole thing, but I would like to know more about pizza. Well, just to take a step back, like, how crazy is it? Okay, night before NBA Finals, and this Michael Jordan, the greatest athlete in the world, ordering a pizza. A pizza? Isn't there something like, I don't know, else you could eat?
Yeah.
I understand it was the 90s, and like fitness and nutrition in the NBAs, they clearly made it out, wasn't like obviously where it is today, because they made mention of like Michael Jordan was one of the only guys to like lift at all.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, pizza would not be what you would think of eating the night before a big game like that.
For everything you just said, I had the exact same thoughts, and from the very beginning, I thought this whole thing was contrived because there's a ton of rumors out there that it obviously wasn't a flu game, and it was because Michael Jordan was hungover.
Sure.
And
Maybe.
so I really thought that this whole pizza thing was made up in order to put that story to rest.
Well, okay, and if you want to put the hangover thing to rest, just say, "Yep, had the flu."
Well, that's exactly what it was. I think like it was just
okay, yeah.
It was walking back like, oh yeah, well it wasn't the flu, it was something else, because people had already basically dismissed the idea that he had the flu. I mean, for reasons that kind of like what you were sort of getting into, like the images of Scottie Pippen and all the people around him and stuff, and it's like clearly these guys didn't think he had the fucking flu. And the way he was acting wasn't really like, the symptoms weren't really in line totally with what influenza is. It just doesn't really make sense, and it's like it makes more sense to say, yeah, I don't know, he had a wild night out and he was hungover and he felt really shitty during the game. Like, I don't know. That's
as
way...
a 2-time influenza survivor. Yeah, no, I don't think he had that.
Yeah,
or maybe he did. I don't know. Or if he did, holy shit, I could not even fathom getting out of bed, let alone playing an NBA Finals game.
Well, this documentary just makes me think that it was more so that it was something like he was just hungover and he's trying to cover that up, because it's like, yeah, you made up this fucking pizza story now, and it's like, okay, well, why'd you say it was the fucking pizza then? Like, what?
Okay. Well,
why'd you say that? Like,
or okay, and if it was the pizza, and you're telling me there's 5 guys that delivered the pizza, and none of these 5 guys have been like, "Yep, I was one of those pizza delivery boys. Give me my internet clout." I don't believe that.
Or, I mean, immediately in the aftermath of, like, this, yeah, I mean, you wake up and it's like, I mean, the way the documentary is like, oh, yeah, this wasn't the flu. It's pretty easy to find out that this was food poisoning, judging from all these things here. It's like this very terribly laid, like, false, like, breadcrumb trail. It was like...
That whole thing, that the throwaway line in there from the trainer is like, yeah, the pizza came in, I knew something was up.
Yeah, like, what the fuck does that mean?
what about the situation? Okay, 5 dudes show up. I mean, you're the 90s Bulls, like, whatever. People go crazy for you. What about the actual pizza? Do you look at it and be like, I don't know about that, but go ahead and eat the whole thing, Michael Jordan.
Right? Did it look like the nasty Krabby Patty from SpongeBob?
Exactly. Right? Was it gray?
Something's weird.
Was there mold on it?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't believe that for a second. That was certainly a part of the documentary where I did not care for it. I haven't gotten to it yet, but it was obviously talked about a lot in the media, and they talked about it in part of my take. Yeah, it's like, stop that. Just you might as well open up, because I thought another good part I did get to the Atlantic City part of it, and I really like them talking about that, where it was like, yeah, so you say you got back by midnight, but we patently, I think, understand that that's not what happened, because it would literally take you several hours to go from New York City to Atlantic City. We know that. Like, you got back for sure at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Which is like, okay, well, why yeah, like, so what? You're there gambling. Like, not a big deal. The only downside to that, I would think, is like, well, you're sitting however long you're sitting in a smoky casino. That's probably not great. Well, I suppose Michael Jordan's smoking a cigar like after every game.
Yeah, this dude is fucking smokestack. Right, this dude's a fucking chimney. The whole documentary. Everybody is. All these fucking people smoking. Yeah. Smoking's cool again.
Yeah, smoking the biggest goddamn cigar you can find.
Yeah.
Have you ever smoked? Have you smoked cigars?
Yeah, I don't care for it. It's all like, I don't know. I still believe that I'm not like doing it right. Like I the like several times that I've done it, it's all this big thing about you like don't inhale it. You just kind of like let it sit in your mouth and kind of just like savor it, and it's like, this is weird. It's all like very ritualistic, and this isn't very therapeutic for me, and it doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's like, I think the first time I did it, I was with Brutus, and he was like, it's like you just get like a small little buzz going on. It's not, you're not tipping over the edge smoking weed or anything. And it's like, I don't know, man. It just kind of tastes bad, and We're sitting outside. I think it was on the Murd House porch. Actually, I was when I first smoked a cigar, and yeah, we were out there doing that, and it's like, I don't know, I think I just put it down and was like, let's just smoke weed, man. It's so dumb.
Let's stop pussyfooting around here. And
This isn't doing anything for me. And it takes forever because some of these cigars are fat as fuck. And I think he got some like nice ones. We weren't smoking these like Swishers or whatever. It's like, we were smoking some nice cigars he picked up, and it was like, what the fuck is the point of this? These cigars cost like $8, $10 a pop, and you sit here for a few hours or whatever and just fucking nurse this thing, and it's like, Jesus, I don't know.
I've never smoked one, but like we at our company picnic, it's a big thing. It's like our CEO brings out a box of cigars, and I'm just like, no, maybe next year. And then I heard some, like, I didn't realize, like, oh, one of the other guys tried them once and he got sick and threw up. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. That sounds not fun.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that happening too. It is like a really strong taste around this cigar, and it also probably like it has something to do with people not teaching people how to smoke a cigar correctly. That was one of the biggest things that Brutus, and when I smoked again with a couple other friends, was like, yeah, you this is not a cigarette. This is not weed. You're not sucking this down into your lungs. So I never did that, but I think that's a way that a lot of people get pretty sick off of them because it's very strong, and you inhale it into your lungs, you just get all that, and it's very bad. So I don't know, man. I don't care for it, and
not interested. I'm not interested.
No. Right. Just Juul, Just fucking. Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited to finish the rest of The Last Dance though, because it's still like a pretty cool thing. There was a post on Reddit that was talking about a guy who like really didn't like how Tony Kukoc, how he was portrayed in it. He's like, he brought up a good stat that it was like, I forgot which finals it was. In one of the let me see if I can quick find it here. Wikipedia.
One of the last three.
Either 97 finals? 98 maybe? I think it was 97. Let me see here. 97 against the Jazz. It might have been. I think it is 98. Anyway, basically in like Game 5. In Game 5, it might have been this one because this one went to 6. In Game 5 though, like Tony Kukoc stepped up. And, well, it must not have been that one because that was the one with the flu game, so it must have been 98. Anyway, basically, like, the rest of the team, like, didn't really, like, step up, but, like, Tony did, and he had, like, 30 points and, like, 12 rebounds or something. Like, he had, like, I think, like, a triple-double in the game, and, like, basically carried the Bulls to the W, and then they played Game 6 and they won the whole damn thing.
Well,
and
it's not a Tony Kukoc documentary.
Yeah, it's not. The documentary definitely put him in like an adversarial role. So a lot of people are not very happy about that because it's like, oh well, Tony Kukoc is like a pretty decent player actually, and they just like made him out to be this like piece that was like, the
European guy.
Yeah, well, right, and then it was basically like a proxy war really between like Michael and Scottie Pippen versus Jerry Krause, who Jerry Krause was like recruiting Tony Kukoc over. It was like the whole thing. He was recruiting this dude overseas rather than paying attention to the situation at home and trying to pay Scottie Pippen. Like that was like this big divide in the organization.
There's a funny line in like the very last episode because like the whole time there's this battle between the players and Jerry Krause. And at the very end, like Michael's just like, "Yep, Jerry Krause is the greatest GM of all time."
But
so I guess you got to give him some credit for that.
Man, God, Jerry Krause, like they definitely for sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they tried very hard at all to like they they gave the guise of like they're explaining both sides here, but like without a doubt they like 100% downplayed like Jerry Reinsdorf in the documentary and his role in this whole shitstorm, and like upplayed Jerry Krause, and it's like this is unfortunate he's dead.
Yeah, like Jerry Reinsdorf, like, man, if you didn't like what he's doing, what Jerry Krause is doing, just, man, you own the team.
Yeah, you fucking pussy. You have the fucking you write the checks. So like, it was, yeah, I don't know, and that came to light more so in like the last episode when there was the big stuff happening there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I don't know, that was probably the part that bothered me the most and rubbed me the wrong way, was the way that like Michael just straight up treated like Jerry Krause from like a like in like a social setting. It was like, you like, this dude is like just straight up making fun of you for like your physical appearance and stuff, and it's like, I understand that like you guys have like professional differences here, but it's like Michael Jordan is just like a straight up asshole. He's fucking, yeah. He's a terrible human being in like these conversations. It's like,
well, also it was the 90s, so
right, yeah, different time, I guess. So you can call people fat and short and get away with it.
You can say a lot more than that.
Yeah. It was really funny because there was a quote that came out after this whole thing where Michael was like, you know, I just don't like to talk about whether or not I'm the greatest of all time. And, like, I don't enjoy having that conversation and answering that question. And it was like, man, there's like a ton of fucking parts in this documentary where you're calling yourself Black Jesus and God and like all these fucking things. It's like, like, get the fuck out with that.
I don't like having that conversation, but here's a 10-part series that about all of it.
Yeah, like there's this whole entire documentary dedicated to me and my legacy.
Yeah, but I don't remember. This might have been on PMT, but like but just from a documentary as a piece of media, like the Jordan reactions to the iPad stuff, to the quotes on the iPad. That needs to be like standard industry practice moving forward. When, you know, there's a juicy line from somebody else, but just give them the iPad to whoever, and like, what do you think?
I did enjoy that, and I'm glad that they included that in this doc, because yeah, you're right. It's it's very like surface level like drama material, but it's very entertaining, and especially when it's like somebody like Michael Jordan, who this entire thing is about. Yeah, getting his direct reaction to something like that, because you get that stuff on like Instagram and stuff where people chirp back at each other, but like that immediate gratification of seeing them, and like, yeah, the way his face lit up when he was like watching something, or yeah, like the Isaiah Thomas thing.
Oh yeah. Like, and here's a theory I heard, like, that actually those reaction scenes being included, that was very calculated by Michael Jordan, because he's realized through Crying Jordan that this is how he lives forever. This is how he's immortalized. Yeah, he did all the basketball stuff, but like in internet culture now, like, that's how you immortalize yourselves. You become a meme, become a GIF, a GIF, whatever.
A GIF.
That's not how you pronounce that. And mission accomplished with those with the iPad reaction stuff.
Yeah, becoming a meme lord. It is scary how big of a business like magnet Jordan has become. Somebody, I mean, it was like just looking at like the value of the Hornets. Like, their value has like, it's like I think it's a couple billion, and he bought it for like $300 or $400 million.
Well, that's a nice ROI.
Yeah. It's like, this team isn't even good. It's like,
this is like a scrub expansion team.
Yeah.
This isn't one of the one of the major power NBA historic teams.
No, but you've still made like a fuck ton of money off of this.
Also on the side, you got Jordan brand.
That's the other big thing is like his entire brand. It's just like
brand.
Right, the way it's expanded, the only team I can think of off the top of my head is Michigan that has Jordan apparel.
Who else? There's a handful of other ones that in college sports that are Jordan brand. Is it Oklahoma maybe?
Jordan brand athletes. Here we go. University of Michigan, UNC. Right, that one. That makes sense.
Well, yeah.
Oklahoma. University of Florida.
I mean, these are top tier programs.
Marquette. Georgetown. Athletes for Jordan Brand. Russell Westbrook. Kawhi Leonard. Or Kawhi is New Balance, isn't he?
Yeah, Kawhi's New Balance, definitely.
What the fuck is this? All right, well, maybe this list is outdated. This is 2018. Let me look at this. 2019. Well, right. Okay, so yeah, it's like affiliated with like Nike.
Yes.
Some of these schools that make the transition there. I don't know. Anyway, that's still like a pretty like those are some big schools. Florida, North
Carolina.
Carolina.
Not that many. They're only like four or five, but those are a pretty who's who list of college athletic programs.
Yeah, they're big programs. They're
big game
right.
hunting.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, his influence, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's obviously his basketball shoes are like some of the most popular, and his regular shoes.
I can't believe he played that one game in the Garden in the Jordan 1s.
Yeah, man, he's fucking swagging out there, and he's like, "Yeah, my feet are bleeding for sure."
There was a good montage like after that the Jordan Brand episode, just a list of top like most influential basketball shoes of all time. Just a list of like 75 of them. I'm like looking through them. It's like, oh yep, Jordans are on there, and it's like shoes that like are just regular that aren't really basketball shoes anymore, but like have origins in basketball. Like, oh yeah, like the Chuck Taylors are basketball shoes originally. Those are still very much relevant today.
The Charlies.
Yeah. I don't know, stuff like that. Stuff that, like shoes that like, oh, I didn't even realize that was actually a basketball shoe. Because it's not in 2020.
I played like pickup basketball one time in some like low top Chuck Taylors, and like, yeah.
How did they do this in the 50s?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, holy shit, man.
This
like my ankles are gonna like roll out of like the socket at any second. Like my fake Chucks that I got. I'm just like, man, where did I park? How much walking am I gonna do today? Like not running, just like, man, these are not good walking shoes. Nope.
This was peak athletic gear back in the day.
I used to use them all the time for weightlifting, like squatting. And, like, I don't even use them for that anymore because they're, like, it's like I'm just putting my feet in, like, canvas and a flat piece of cardboard. Like, this isn't doing anything for my feet. Like, I might as well just take them off. So, yeah.
Hey, bro, you mind if I lift barefoot?
Kinda. Like, I'm just gonna lift in my fucking socks. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm excited to see the rest of The Last Dance here. Yeah. We're an hour and a half in here. Do you want to talk about college sports?
We can save the fall from college sports we'll save that for another time. I think
as we get, it'll probably be better too because it's like there's the very precipice, I think, of news that's breaking right now with everything. Like it's very early still.
Something actually needing to happen here with the NBA, with baseball. That's a whole other thing. What they're trying to figure out with players and the union and the owners and how they're going to split up whatever revenues left.
Yeah.
a lot of things kind of simmering in the background. But college, the whole college institution as a thing is really interesting. So stick around. That's coming up right after the break. The tease and the biz.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in again. We'll hope to see you next week. Hope we have something special planned for you. I think we just might. We'll catch you next time.
Special mystery guest.
Mystery guest.
Ooh. Bye.